Welcome back to the Davy Brown 990 Restoration channel. My name's Barry for those of you who are new. Right, tonight, and I mean tonight, it's getting dark out there. Tonight, what we're going to do tonight? Well, my plan was to put on the back plate for the axle, the suction pipe, the hydraulic pump which is in here. We're going to put them back on, but then I remembered we had a problem with the pipe work inside the axle interfering with the diff lock. So what I've got now, what we're going to do now is, we've got here our selector for the hydraulics. I've got my empty valve chest. I'm going to put the valve chest onto the selector. We're going to pop the selector back into the axle there, just temporary like, there's no gaskets going to go in and out like that, just going to pop in there temporary. We're then going to lift that manifold up onto the valve chest, and we're going to have a look at the pipe work to see if we've still got any interference. Hopefully we haven't. As I said previously, the pipe work, the diff lock actuator and that axle case were together in a previous life. They didn't have my valve chest in on my selector, but I cannot remember, there was no valve chest on out like that on this when it came down from Colin. So I'm not sure if that was interfering with the actuator for the diff lock then, but we're going to put it back together. We're going to fasten that manifold block up and we're going to have a look, because once that plate goes on we cannot get in seriously enough to reshape any of that pipe work, because the pipe work might have to come back out to be reshaped a little bit, but we're going to see, aren't we? Let's crack on. Right, so I've got some new nuts and washers, because if you remember when this came to bits there was only one nut on it and that was chewed to bits. So let's get our empty valve chest popped onto here. I brought this back from the farm today. No I didn't, I brought it back yesterday. Left it in here overnight. And these faces were all covered with oil once this was painted and the tape was stripped off it, the masking tape. Came in this morning and all the bare faces had flash rusted. Don't know why, because it's not, I've never had anything flash rust in here before, because all my components are just left lying about in here. This was heavily oiled, when it went away up to the farm after painting to stop any flash rusting happening. I'm absolutely sure I hadn't had rust on it yesterday when I picked it up. I'm going to fasten a bit of string round the bottom of my little lever there to keep my little lever out of harm's way, stop it getting stuck on anything or caught on anything. I'll pop that like that. Right, got my two bolts ready. Back face here as well, got a good greasing. This is getting a good greasing. If things are going to start and flash rust, I'm going to start and grease them so that the oil either it kind of get wiped off, or I don't know what's happening, whether the cloth's draining all the oil away or whatever. But luckily it was just a light flash rust around the face here. Bit of Scotch Brite, took it all off. Now it's greased to the devil and back. Right, here's a way. We're going to shift this down here. We're going to put it in that axle and we're going to have a look. We'll see what's going on, what pipe work, aren't we? Right, got our two bolts in. Valve chest on. Got the spanner handy. Right, let's get this. If I'd had a reasonable bit of room, I could have stood behind it and it would have been so much easier, wouldn't it? All these holes, again, as usual, I've had a tap through them. The bolts rather, have had a dye run up them. And this is just purely and simply, nice and lightly in place. Pop our bottom ones in. Wouldn't it be nice for the speaker back together for the last time, eh? Okay, there we go. Right, so after a bit of fiddling, what I've had to do is loosen the valve, the selector, off and allow it to come out about 1/4 of an inch, because there was an angle on this block that really just didn't want to play games. But by moving it back, we've allowed the block to turn slightly and find its position. Where's the other bolt? Let's get the other bolt in. Remember the golden rule of engineering: don't tighten any bolts till every bolt is in. Right, so we've got them nipped there. Now we'll reconnect the pipe work down here. So when all those pipes are lined up properly. Right, let's put the valve selector back into its final place and see what we've got. As I say, none of this is tight, it's just literally pushed into position. Now, do we have full movement? Yes, we do. So that's okay. So I'll just quickly pull the back pipe out and all. So we'll pop all that back in. We'll pop the back pipe in. So we know that's clear now. There's no interference in there, so the pipe's not going to get a hole worn in it with the diff lock activator rubbing against it. So tomorrow we can get the suction pipe put in, get the rear plate put on the axle, hydraulic pump put on. That's another little job done, isn't it? We're just slowly gathering all the bits. What we all need to do is make sure that we get there and we tighten up that one joint in the bottom of there before we'll finish this off. Right, let's get it wrapped up. Right, that's it for tonight then. Pipe work's in, connected up, camel sumps back on, pipe work done down there, the oil supply pipe from the pump back there. So tomorrow, all we have to do tomorrow, suction pipe in, plate on, oil pump on. The suction pipe, we had to do a bit of repair on it here. Somebody had bashed that all in, so we had to go inside into there. Had to heat that up first of all, then we had to go into there with as big as punch as we could get in without interfering with things, and very gently tap that back out, because that was all smashed in. And the bottom, the brass adapter that goes from here to the suction pressure switch is bent. Notice that tonight, the shaft, the little probe that comes out of here to the body is bent. So we need to look at can we straighten it with a little bit of heat, but not a lot of heat because it's brass, or do we need to get a replacement? So as I say, we need to look at that and see if we can straighten it, or whether we need to get a replacement for it. We'll see how we get on with it. Right, so we've got my gasket, get some weld seal on, put it onto here, we'll put the back plate in, all bolts here ready to go on. And what I've done is I've just made some spaces out of some copper pipe, because obviously these were the ones, if you remember, on the original casting, they got knocked out the back, they got burst out the back. So we cannot go tightening them in too far, but they've got to be enough to give a bit of pressure to the plate to get the gasket and the weld seal to push up. Then we're going to put suction pipe on the hydraulic pump and put the hydraulic pump onto the back of the plate. We've got all our nuts and bolts and all our fastenings ready here for it. So we'll just... Right, let's get some weld seal put on. Okay. Right. Now we need to touch weld seal on there. Oh, we'll put it on this space a bit easier, wouldn't it? Now, let's get this popped up. Bolts put in. And my dowel. nip these. You don't need to be excessive. All I'm going to do, create a bit of compression between the gaskets and the faces. Okay, now, a O-ring, O-ring on. A bit of oil on it. Okay, let's cut these out. So I'm going to pop my suction pipe on. I've got a new O-ring on there. Pop my suction pipe onto a pump. Put a bit of oil in there and it'll soak its way down. These are just little quarter screws, so they're not going to take an awful lot of tightening. When I took this to bits, the bottom of this was all pushed in here. I don't know what's happened to it, what's been going on, but it had to be heated up and pushed back out with a punch. Nearly there. Then we'll just slip this through. Let's say this 7/16 spanner. It's not going to take, it doesn't take a lot of, you don't want to be horsing this up. It just needs to be enough to stop it from vibrating loose. Okay. And we'll pop a bit more oil down the hole. And then we'll, I was going to offer it up there, but then I remembered, and I just seen, we haven't put my clip on. I'll pop my clip into position. A little quarter screws with countersink head, 532 Allen key. And now that everything's oily, it's lovely and slippy. Okay. Now we can put this in. Bags of oil on that. Nut, washer, put my towel under there, I've got a drip. If you go back to the previous video, I'll put a link up here for it, where we did the seals on this pump. Stripped it all out, put new seals, new O-rings, new front seal in here, new shaft seal in. That's been totally rebuilt. Of course, as I say now, everything's covered in oil. It's a bit of getting a grip on, isn't it? But we're there. Right. Nice and tight. Okay. One left to go. Open the nose through the casting. I'll go around that side. Do it from the other side. Oh. And that's it. That's my hydraulic pump on. Get a bit of it. Everything's nipped up. Later, these will come out because the PTO cover's going to go on. So, I'm not sure, I think that one stops in. I think that just stops in there. There's a locator for the PTO cover when the PTO cover goes on. And we'll obviously pull this dowel out of here to put the cover on. Got an oil spray tube in place, which sprays oil onto the gear system that's in the back of the PTO. All right. Right, well that's it for this video. Thank you very much for joining us. Your time is greatly appreciated and your support is greatly appreciated. But as I say, that's it for this video. Rear plate on, oil pump on, suction pump in place, all the pipe work in place. Happy with what we're getting done so far. What we'll do is, the next thing will be the PTO cover to go on. I think they're the PTO cover or the gearbox, one of the two. we'll see. We'll have a think about that. I'll have an executive meeting with myself and we'll talk about that. Right, so if you found that useful, please give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. So, don't forget now, don't overthink it, it's just nuts and bolts. See you in the next one. Stay safe, take care. Bye now.